up, Sauce Gang, and welcome back to the channel. Hot Sauce Beats here with another dope reaction for you. Well, MatPat dropped 2 videos yesterday, and we're gonna react to the second one, and it is from the Film Theorist, and it is Mr. Beast is wrong about Wonka's Chocolate River, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Now, I wonder what he's saying he's wrong about, because I don't know if he said anything. He waved goodbye to the contestants. He's like, bye, so long, suckers. But you guys know we love MatPat on this channel. Anytime he talks about Mr. Beast, it's a big W because it's gonna be good. But before we jump into this, show MatPat some love over at Film Theorist and subscribe to his channel. And if you enjoyed my reaction, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free and it greatly helps out the channel. But enough talking. Let's get to reacting and roll that ball message.
Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Eat, sleep, make beats. Eat, sleep, make beats.
Hot Sauce Beats. Woo, woo. Oh, let's go.
Augusto, sweetheart, save some room for later.
Augustus, please, don't do that. My chocolate must never be touched by human hand. Please, don't do that.
Bye-bye, kid. You can't touch the chocolate river. Everybody knows that.
My chocolate!
Don't just stand there. Do something.
Help. Police. Murder.
Please, someone. Someone.
Impossible, my dear lady. That's absurd. Unthinkable.
Why?
Because the chocolate river would have finished him off much faster.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
This is starting off dark, bruh.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the show that's like a river of dark chocolate. Sweet, but bitter. In case you missed it, earlier this year, Mr. Beast launched a new brand of chocolate bar, Feastables. And true to his brand, it came with a promotion.
10 random bars are gonna have a mystery ticket inside of them, and if you
And this is what Mr. Beast does. When he comes up with an idea, it's a win-win on 2 fronts, and no one does it like him.
get this mystery ticket, we will fly you out to compete for a chocolate factory in one of our videos.
Well, that video's finally come out, complete with him bringing Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory to life. He even recreated the iconic chocolate waterfall and river.
Don't ask me how, but we put a chocolate river with a chocolate waterfall in the middle of this warehouse.
Who would have thought a river made of chocolate is not very practical?
Except that's where he'd be wrong. A chocolate river is shockingly practical. You see, watching Mr. Beast's version of the chocolate river really got me thinking for the first time ever about the actual
I hope you don't mean just in general. This video really got me thinking for the first time.
physical realities of a chocolate river. Just so we're clear, that river in both Jimmy's video and the original film is supposed to be made of actual melted chocolate and not, you know, brown poop water. Look, we were all thinking it. Heck, even the movie calls it out.
What a disgusting, dirty river.
It's industrial waste, that.
That's chocolate!
This is one place where the 2005 remake with Johnny Depp is actually more faithful to Willy Wonka canon. That giant CGI waterfall and river might look more artificial, but it's actually truer to what the texture of actual melted chocolate would be, which, if it's liquid, should be hot, right? Like hot melted chocolate.
Oh,
Chocolate is solid at room temperature.
That's true. So that would be like the Springs. It'd be a Springs river.
Would poor Augustus Gloop be boiled alive after he fell into the river? How long could he actually last in there? And speaking of lasting, could he actually drown inside of a chocolate river? We're told he can't swim, but can you swim in melted chocolate? Does the ability to tread water matter here? And could a factory like this actually have all of this chocolate mixed by a waterfall like Wonka says? Like I said, a lot of questions started to flood my brain while watching that Mr. Beast video. So today, we're gonna be getting to the chewy scientific center of all these chocolate river mysteries. And trust me, you will be surprised by what I found. This seemingly ridiculous Wonka concoction isn't nearly as absurd as it might initially seem. In fact, this wacky movie is actually a heck of a lot more accurate to
I mean, all you gotta think about is like a fondue fountain, right? Like, it's a real thing. Of course it's gonna
the
work.
actual chocolate manufacturing process than I think any of us first realized when we were watching the movie. And Augustus, well, let's just say that his scene would look very different.
For Augustus,
so
chat.
come with me, and you'll see a world of cold scientific calculation as we explore the reality of Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Now, right at the top here, can I just be an Augustus Gloop apologist for a second? I mean, I know that we're meant to think of him as a spoiled spoiled brat who's punished for his gluttony by falling into the river, but was it really that wrong of him to start drinking the chocolate water? I mean, Wonka introduced all the visitors to the chocolate room and then turned them loose to go ahead and eat anything. That is the entire point of the room. The kids are clearly meant to try eating all of the stuff that they see, from the mushrooms to the trees. And there in the middle, the giant centerpiece is a river of frickin' chocolate. It was not unreasonable for Augustus to assume that in the everything is made of candy and you can eat it room, the chocolate river was also
too much. So don't get me wrong, I like sweets. I don't like them that much, dude. And it's like just watching this, my stomach just starts, and that's the sound when your stomach turns. Isn't that how your stomach sounds?
So up for grabs, and yet here's Wonka immediately throwing a fit.
Augustus, please, don't do that. My chocolate must never be touched by human hands. Don't do that!
The Johnny Depp version is even worse because the Oompa Loompas just shame him through the medium of song.
Augustus Gloop, the great bakery nincompoop.
Harassment much? Just saying, hashtag justice for Gloop. But okay, now that he's in the river of chocolate, what would actually be happening here? Well, first, we're told this.
He can't swim.
There's no better time to learn.
And while I love Wonka's line here, the ability to swim shouldn't matter at all when it comes to Augustus's survival. In fact, he would have to actively try to drown inside of that river of melted chocolate. You see, chocolate is denser than water, and the denser a fluid is, the more buoyant force is pushing you upward when you try to float in it. As an example, the Dead Sea. It's located between Jordan and Israel, and it's 9.6 times saltier than ocean water. Normal water has a density of 1 kilogram per liter. The Dead Sea, because of all that salt,
don't you love it, chat, when he just starts breaking out science and math, and you're like, I believe what he says.
Has a slightly higher density of 1.24 kilograms per liter. And let me tell you, with even that amount of difference, floating in the Dead Sea is incredibly easy.
Wow!
Steph and I actually did it about 10 years ago, and it feels like someone is just actively holding you up in the water. It is a wild experience. So now, compare that to the density of melted chocolate, which is even more dense than the Dead Sea, between 1.28 and 1.31 times the density of normal water. Basically, it would be hard for Augustus to sink below the chocolatey surface, and honestly, this is kind of reflected in the movie. For someone who can't swim, Augustus seems to be staying above the surface pretty darn well, at least until the pipe's suction pulls him down.
He's had it now, the suction's got him.
That said, if he even had a little bit of swim
Augustus, you swole, fam!
For as wild as it sounds, there wouldn't be anything preventing him from swimming in a river of melted chocolate. According to research published by the University of Minnesota, if you put swimmers in a liquid that's more viscous than the water they're used to swimming in, they'll still be able to swim without their speed being diminished. In fact, according to everything we know about fluid dynamics, you'd have to have a liquid that was around 1,000 times more viscous before people swimming noticeably slowed down.
So you could swim just as fast in melted chocolate as you could in water?
News here, chocolate is only about 50 times more viscous than water. And that, my friends, is what...
That's not vicious, it's viscous. Not to be confused with vicious.
Don't skip your little guppy swim lessons. It'll save your life one day when you're swimming in a pool of chocolate. But wait a minute, this whole time we've been talking about liquid chocolate like it's a perfectly normal thing. Clearly it's not. Chocolate is solid at room temperature. That is melted chocolate inside of that river. In other words, hot chocolate. Even the Oompa Loompas talk about how they're gonna let Augustus boil for a little bit of extra time in the 2005 remake.
We'll boil it for a minute more until we're absolutely sure.
Would you guys judge me if I said I don't like that Willy Wonka? And I love Johnny Depp. Just, I don't know. That's so dark and sus.
So how hot does that chocolate river have to be in order to be, you know, a river? Well, it turns out melted chocolate might not be deadly, but it can be damaging. For a flowing, dripping chocolate fountain, you usually want the chocolate to be reaching temperatures of about 110 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
So a little bit hotter than a hot tub.
Fahrenheit, or 43 to 49 degrees Celsius. It's pretty darn hot. For comparison, hot tubs in the
103 to 105.
US are prohibited from going above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or 40 degrees Celsius, specifically due to safety concerns. And 100 degrees Fahrenheit, or 38 degrees Celsius, is the recommended safe temperature for adults. According to Johns Hopkins University, exposing skin to 120 degree fluids tends to cause serious burns after 10 minutes of exposure, which admittedly is a lot longer than we see Augustus in the Gloop, but it's something to be concerned about, especially considering that hot melted chocolate is going to be a lot stickier than water. It's going to be important to wash that off his skin immediately. We see this very clearly in the Johnny Depp remake where the chocolate really sticks to his body as he flails around. So getting that stuff washed off as soon as he's shot through the pipe is gonna be a top priority. He wouldn't be crying out due to drowning, he'd be crying out due to getting boiled to death. Also, is it just me or is this like the third time that I've mentioned the 2005 Johnny Depp remake as being the version that's correct? Do I somewhere deep in the recesses of my brain somehow think that this is the better version of the story?
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
Nope, no it isn't. Let's just say there's a reason no one was talking about this one getting a sequel during the big Johnny Depp trial.
Okay then, let's move along.
But safety concerns aside, let's go back to what gets said during the Mr. Beast video.
Who would have thought a river made of chocolate is not very practical?
Is this a practical way of producing chocolate? Well, this is what Wonka has to say about the chocolate waterfall, the supposed crown jewel of his factory.
That's the most fantastic thing I've ever seen.
10,000 gallons an hour. And look at my waterfall. That's the most important thing. It's actually churning my chocolate.
10,000 gallons an hour, you say? Is that actually realistic for a waterfall of this size? And more importantly, should I be impressed with that number or not? 10,000 gallons an hour.
I mean, Matt, Pat, let us know the science and math, because I don't know.
It seems high, but this is an international candy company after all. Is 10,000 gallons an hour enough to provide candy to the entire world? Well, let's tackle the size question first. As it turns out, that number is almost perfectly on the money. According to a vendor that specializes in artificial waterfalls, the water flow rate for waterfalls is gonna vary depending on how splashy you want it to be. A slow, non-splashy, quiet waterfall would have a flow rate of around 100 gallons per hour per inch of waterfall width. But if you want yourself a splashy, frothy, white water effect for your waterfall that's gonna make some noise, like the one we see in Wonka's factory, you're gonna be looking at a flow rate somewhere between 200 and 500 gallons per hour per inch of waterfall width. That means that for a flow rate of 10,000 gallons per hour like Wonka claims, the waterfall would need to be somewhere between 20 and 50 inches wide, or 0.5 meters to 1.25 meters. And looking at the waterfall, it looks to fall exactly somewhere in that range. So good on the film's writers for actually doing their research. And yeah, I'm giving credit to the film writers because the 10,000 gallons Wonka says in the movie is actually a lot more precise than in the original book, where Wonka just says, quote, thousands of gallons an hour, my dear children, thousands of gallons. But the real question here is whether the waterfall is up to the task of mixing all of Wonka's chocolate. I mean, we just established that the waterfall could handle 10,000 gallons an hour, but is that enough for Willy Wonka to maintain a worldwide chocolate empire? Well, I did some calculations, and based on the weight and volume of milk chocolate, Wonka's 10,000 gallons an hour translates into over 500 million pounds of chocolate per year. That's 519.5 million pounds per year to be exact. But is that number enough to be a global chocolate juggernaut? Well, in 2011, Hershey's said that they were producing over 1 billion pounds of chocolate products per year. Obviously, over 1 billion pounds of chocolate products is a huge range and a very vague definition, but we're gonna assume that it's somewhere between 1 and 2 billion pounds. Now, at first, it might look like Wonka is severely lagging behind. He's only outputting around 500 million pounds of chocolate, but remember that Wonka's factory here is operating in 1971, when the globe's population was around half of what it is today. In other words, Wonka was definitely keeping pace and seemingly had what it took to be a global leader in chocolate. And here's the part that's even more impressive.
They did their research. And Matt Pat, you did your this is why Matt Pat's so entertaining. Like, he does the research.
Billion-ish number for Hershey's? Yeah, that's based on the output of all 19 of the plants that they have operating worldwide. Meanwhile, Wonka is over here processing all of his chocolate in a single factory. One Wonka factory is the equivalent to like 10 Hershey's factories. Huge kudos to those Oompa Loompas. So that's all well and good and super impressive, both in terms of scale and also in terms of mathematical accuracy. The numbers all shockingly check out. Honestly, it's almost enough to make me forgive the biggest issue of all in this scene. The fact that using a white water waterfall is the exact opposite of how you'd actually want to mix your chocolate.
You know, no other factory in the world mixes its chocolate by waterfall.
There's a good reason for that, Bill. You don't want your chocolate to get all frothy like that. All that white frothiness you see when the water hits the boulders at the bottom of the waterfall, that white water effect is what happens when the liquid's flow is so turbulent that air gets trapped within it, creating a frothy, unstable current. And air bubbles are something that you do not want within your chocolate. In fact, most factories have processes that are specifically designed to eliminate and remove those air bubbles. When creating chocolate bars at home, in fact, an important step in the process is banging the molds on the table or shaking them in order to let the air bubbles rise to the surface and release, thereby leaving behind
They're terrible
a
with
nice
air bubbles. I mean, it just, you can't have pockets. You can't have pockets of air. you know, maybe bags of chips should learn the same. Can't have a whole bag.
Smooth, even chocolate bar. And before you go thinking that this might be his secret ingredient or something, while air-rated chocolate is indeed a big trend nowadays, air is not the gas that you use to create that stuff. In short, as we just proved, Wonka has a chocolate production process that would enable him to be a world leader. The only problem with that is the quality of his chocolate would flat out suck. And that's probably why he needed a giveaway to promote it. No offense meant to Mr. Beast, by the way. Feastable's chocolate, really solid. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. And hey, while Mr. Beast's initial giveaway is over, he just started a new one where he's giving away Teslas, Xboxes, and chances to appear in future videos. And here's the really shocking part. You can win all of it without spending a dime. Actually did a video all about how to do it right over here. So if winning those prizes sounds at all interesting to you, check it out. And hey, Mr. Beast's food empire isn't limited to just chocolate. I did a video exposing how Mr. Beast launched his own burger chain through the magic of ghost kitchens. To find out how he, and pretty soon Five Nights at Freddy's, did exactly that, check out the video right there. As always, my friends, I'll see you next week. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit! Bon appetit! Let me bring you in, chat, and put on some tunage. Fam, that was epic, so we know now. Realistically, a chocolate water, the river's very practical. Waterfall is not practical. Little did they know, they messed up with the waterfall. You know, they tried shooting for the moon. Hiccups. They tried shooting for the moon, and they got to the moon with the river. But then they're like, hey, we should go to Mars and make a waterfall. They should have just stopped at the moon. But I can't fathom swimming in chocolate water with it being thicker, that you could swim as fast in chocolate, not chocolate water. You could swim as fast in chocolate as you could in water. I don't believe it because it's thicker. It's resistance. It's resistance. It'd be holding you back, slowing you down. But hey, that's just a theory. A hot sauce theory. I know that was cheesy, fam. This was awesome. I like it. I wonder how they come up with these ideas of, hey man, should we, Mr. Beast just had an amazing video. We should do something about whether that chocolate river is practical or not. That's probably how they happen. But anyways, guys, make sure you show Matt Pat at Food Theory some love and subscribe to his channel. And if you enjoy my reaction, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free and it greatly helps out the channel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember, it's eat, sleep, and make beats. And as usual, be kind to one another. And that's all I got. Boom, I'm out. Got nothing but love for the Sauce Gang. Peace. Woo woo.